Now, Stu, there's something I want to talk about.
Okay,
I want to talk about it the entire time that I've been alive. And it makes sense now because it exists. Yep. I want to talk about Spider-Man No Way Home.
We could talk about that, yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah, it was really good.
Oh, yeah. Spoilers from this point forward.
Yeah, big spoilers.
If you know me, you know I'm a Marvel geek. Mm-hmm. I love the Marvel stuff so much. And every once in a while, probably whenever an MCU movie comes out, we're just going to have a long talk about whatever that movie is and our thoughts on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Especially a movie as momentous as No Way Home.
I don't want to seem like I'm overreacting, but it's probably one of the best movies I've ever seen.
I don't think it's one of the best movies I've ever seen, but it was one of the greatest theater experiences I've had. Oh,
yeah. I've never, even with like Infinity War, like the scene where like Cap got the hammer, I've never seen. That's in game. You're right. Sorry, they're the same thing to me. Anyway,
I understand. I'm trying to prevent you from getting nasty emails.
Or someone tweeting at me, very someone who can make my day worse. Yep. You know. So I've never seen that much audience interaction throughout an entire movie like that, because it was like every 2 minutes of just whoa, they're in it. Oh shit! Whoa! Just constantly, and I loved every minute of it.
It was great. We're gonna get into the actual spoilers now. All right.
Gotta clean my glasses for this one.
Do it. I love so much. One of the happiest things I've ever felt in my life was seeing my boy Matt Murdock in the MCU, like officially full on.
Yep. I yelled out, "Oh shit, it's him!" when, like, as loud as I could. I did not care if there were children around. I just said, "Oh shit, he's in it." And the girl next to me had no idea who that was. I'm like, oh.
You either know, and it makes your day, or you don't, and you're just like, I guess it's just a guy.
Yeah.
And
he's just a really good lawyer.
Just a really good lawyer. I love Daredevil. That show is so good.
I think it's the only good Netflix superhero show. I didn't like any of the other ones. I thought Luke Cage was okay. I
thought Jessica Jones was pretty good, but a little long-winded. But like the way Daredevil ended, that final season is so good. It builds up in such a nice, natural way. And you get this nice catharsis at the end, because I'm like, I don't know who's going to make it out of this.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the kind of storytelling I love.
Oh, yeah. But this isn't about Daredevil.
It's not.
It's about Spider-Man.
But I do want to point out, I think it is hilarious. We have canon. Daredevil helps out Spider-Man. He knows who Peter Parker is. And by the end of the movie, he canonically forgets that this happened. So he has no knowledge of actually helping out Spider-Man. This crossover might as well have not happened.
It might as well have not happened. Because if they do another crossover with them two, it's just going to be Peter who knows. He goes, "Oh shit, you're my lawyer," or something like that.
Yeah.
One thing on the topic of him forgetting, remember like the dedication they made at school for Peter when they found out that, so they had like the whole trip. Did that go away before people went back to school after forgetting? Or did they just like go and they'd be like, "Who's this guy in this Spider-Man memorial?
All right.
Is he Spider-Man?"
Now, I'm willing to kind of like let those kinds of things be sort of wiped away because it's magic. And there's no hard and fast rules on magic. I'm willing to believe that he doesn't have any documents or whatever. And it's just like, if whatever he needs to like actually be a person and survive is still there, but anything that involves him with Spider-Man's gone because it's magic. And like, it's not like a science thing that you can poke holes in. You can just shrug and say magic. However,
so magic took down the trophy case and Flash Thompson's book?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, it erased those things from people's memories and maybe possibly out of existence. However, I will say the choice to make everybody forget about Peter Parker is so dumb. Peter, you're a smart kid. Use your brain. You don't have to make
he was in a high pressure situation.
You know what would have been better? Make everybody forget I was Spider-Man. Make everybody forget Spider-Man exists. And then the next time you're thwipping through the city, guess what? They'll just be like, oh, it's a new superhero. You big dumb idiot. Like,
but
if you don't want to face them.
I think that the spell he did was okay because that eliminated the issue of him trying to have a secret identity from his friends again and having his friends deal with him being Spider-Man and his family. At least the people he cares about.
That wasn't a concern he had at the time, though. He was just trying to stop this multidimensional threat from happening.
Yeah.
And it would have been way easier because, they would have forgotten he was a superhero. They would still know him as Peter Parker. They still would have been school friends with him. His primary relationships with him would have been preserved. And then he could just go, hey, I'm Spider-Man. You know?
He could. Yeah.
I'm a superhero. I think it's really weird that Doctor Strange also forgets when at the beginning, since it's his idea to use a spell, and he goes, yeah, you remember that party? And Wong's like, what party? He's like, exactly. I'm like, well, if Strange casts a spell and the person casting the spell also forgets, he shouldn't know about that party either.
Yeah. Oh man. The only way I can think of it is that if you have a spell and you keep adding alterations, it could probably just make the spell not as effective. So it probably couldn't just overcome the original spell. But who knows how magic works really, though.
Yeah. I don't even think Doctor Strange knows.
No, he doesn't. Yeah. I think that's the entire point of his series is that he doesn't know how magic works.
I love Doctor Strange so much. I've been Doctor Strange for Halloween the past 2 years. I think he's so fun. I love it when he's just a jerk to everybody and he's just mean for no reason.
Yeah. When all the kids were in the sanctum and he's just being a dickhead to all three of them.
I understand you're mad at Peter. Why are you mad at these kids?
Yeah.
They didn't get into college and they were sad about it. And they didn't ask him to do it either.
No, they didn't.
I also think it's really funny. This huge jump that Strange has between his first movie and now, where in his first movie, he killed a guy in self-defense and he was like, I just killed a man. I am not going to do that again. I took the Hippocratic Oath. And now in this movie, he's just like, oh, 5 people are going to get sent to their death? I do not care.
They're not our people. They're not our people.
These are...
Well, I think it's because I think being a wizard now makes him think about the bigger picture constantly, especially after the events of the Avengers series. So now he's kind of just in the big picture of this, their lives are actually meaningless. So he cares much less now than he did back when he was a doctor.
Realize when Tony died. Yeah. That was probably fine. The world's probably going to be fine.
Well, you think about it, he had the most time to get over it because he knew it was going to happen before anyone else.
Another thing I think is really fascinating, an implication for the future, is that Wong is now the Sorcerer Supreme.
Yeah, which I love that.
To me means only one thing. Wong gonna die. He's gonna die so hard.
He's gonna die in multiverse. And it's going to be sad because he is probably the best MCU character.
I love this internet rallying thing happening behind Wong where everybody agrees he's the greatest character to exist in the history of cinema. It's just Wong. I love it so much.
It's not even Wong being in the Doctor Strange movie, the first one. It's the scene in
Infinity War.
Infinity War, thank you, where he just dips out for the whole movie.
Just peace.
Oh man,
I love him showing up in Shang-Chi.
Yeah, that was good.
And now this movie turns it around because before it was just he was a wizard, and in Infinity War he doesn't even have enough money to get his own sandwich. And when you meet him in Shang-Chi, you're just okay, he's doing these kind of fights faking him and he's getting money for it. But now it's the Sorcerer Supreme not being able to afford like a Supreme sandwich. Yeah. And it's so funny. It's so dumb. I love that he's just like, I got to do something in my free time. What am I going to do? I'm going to do cage fights. Not real cage fights.
Well, you got to think being a sorcerer probably doesn't pay well. If you just like spend all your time on in Tibet training and learning, you don't get paid for that, Can't you just like, I don't know, make stuff? Can't there's got to be there's got to be a rule about like not like just making currency out of nothing, Not
necessarily currency, but just like you should be able to magic yourself a sandwich. That's all I'm saying.
I guess.
Like being able to like shoot portals and like the winds of Watum, whatever. Yeah. But like if you can't make a sandwich for yourself with magic, what's the point?
Yeah. I there's nothing stopping them from just portaling into like a Subway and just taking like some dude's sub off like the counter.
Exactly.
Because what's that guy gonna do? Like really? You portal in, take the sandwich, portal out. He's down a Subway sandwich. Subway's going to make him another sandwich because they're like, hey, that's not your fault. A wizard stole your sandwich. So here, I'll make you another Subway sandwich. This is not sponsored by Subway, unfortunately.
It is not.
No.
Maybe someday.
So I want to see if you noticed this.
Okay.
But for Sandman, all of his actual like live action scenes were just pulled from Spider-Man 3. I noticed that at first. I'm like, that looks like the scene from Spider-Man 3. And then when they had him in the CGI sand form the entire time, like, they didn't get the actor back.
But they did get him for the voiceover stuff.
They did because it turned out that it was just a scheduling error. Not error, but like that he couldn't get scheduled to be on site. Yeah. So since all the voice acting stuff is done in post anyway because he's CGI, they were just like, hey, just come in on the weekends and voice your line. Like,
I think the choice to have him in sand form is fine. But I think they should have addressed it in the movie. Like, just have him say offhandedly, I used to be able to turn back into my human form, but over the years I've lost it and now I'm just kind of stuck like this.
That's totally fine.
That would have made sense. Yep. There's a couple of things in this movie that I'm like, I can come up with an explanation for this, but I would like for you to actually do it, please, movie, so I don't have to.
Exactly.
And the primary thing that I have an explanation for, but the movie didn't give me, was why is Electro a different person now? Like, yeah, it's still Jamie Foxx, but these are two different characters.
Oh, it's definitely two different characters. I think the main reason was that was kind of one of the letdowns of the Garfield series was like Electro not being that awesome and kind of looking funky. So they're like, let's just retcon this and just say he's hot now because he got all that power and now he's hot and he's not blue anymore.
Now, my explanation for why his character is different is he was basically like dispersed into total energy in The Amazing Spider-Man 2 and he died, but when he gets sent over to this new universe, the movie's explanation is it's just this universe's power, and I'm like, that's not quite enough. I'm like, here's a good explanation for you. He had to rebuild himself, and it just rebuilt him slightly differently, rebuilt his brain slightly differently. This is now the person he wanted to be the whole time.
He went from being Max Dillon in Amazing Spider-Man to just being Jamie Foxx has electricity.
Yeah.
That's all it was.
Yeah. But like, just have him say, I had to rebuild myself. And I think I did some things differently and I like it. And that's all you would have had to say.
Yeah. The Lizard changed because he was kind of like, he was a little bit more tragic in his movie where like he wanted to like, definitely like cure people, but like at the cost of becoming a lizard. He was definitely more of, I want to turn people into lizards. This movie. He's like, being a lizard is awesome. And I want everyone to partake.
All right, I've seen the movie twice now and I didn't get him wanting to be like, I want to turn people into lizards. It was just like, I'm a mean lizard.
Yeah.
That was all it was. It was just, I'm a mean lizard. I fought Spider-Man once, 2-3 times, and I'm going to fight this new Spider-Man because I'm a mean lizard.
Because they do that in the comics where, like, he is the lizard, but he's also Dr. Connors. Mm-hmm. This movie, he was just a lizard.
It's just a lizard. Like, the other movie, it has a time limit.
Yeah.
Like, again, movie, I'm okay with you just like, hey, time has passed. Mm-hmm. I found a permanent version of this lizard formula. Yeah. Because I think it's a good idea to have your bad guys stay in, like, a visibly different state. So after they get cured, they go to looking like normal people. That's a good choice. I think having Sandman turn into Thomas Hayden Church at the end of the movie is a good choice.
Oh yeah, because
even if you could have got him, it would
definitely,
because it visibly is like, well, clearly he's different now.
Oh yeah, and that was kind of what they went for, I think, because like even Electro took off like some of his gear and stuff. I really liked how he was like powered up. He had like the mask,
that was
but made
cool.
out of electricity. Mm-hmm. That was so cool. I love that. Doc Ock was cool. I like Doc Ock.
Great. We got to talk about the best part of the movie.
The Goblin. Gobby was cracked.
I loved it so much.
He was so good.
All right, so showing my age here.
Yeah.
Tobey Maguire, original Spider-Man, that Sam Raimi movie is what made me fall in love with superheroes.
Yes.
Right?
Same here.
I never experienced anything like it before. Uh-huh. I was right in that demographic they were aiming for.
They hit it right in the sweet spot.
I remember I went to school the next day and I had to ask the teacher to go to the bathroom the day after I saw the movie. And I'm just running through the halls like, do it. And I remember there being a kid that was also like going to the end of the hall, maybe like rode my school bus or something. Mm-hmm. And he was just like, what are you doing? And I stopped and was like, what? And he only knew the hand signal as being like the I love you sign.
Oh.
So he thought I was saying I love you to him. I'm like, no, it's Spider-Man. I'm Spider-Man.
I don't know
now.
who you are. I'm Spider-Man. I don't love you. I went back and watched the Sam Raimi Spider-Man, the first one. Mm-hmm. And I liked how it's almost as if Willem Dafoe literally went from Spider-Man 1 to this one, because
so good.
He didn't age that bad, and he was just as crazy as the first one.
He's like, crazier.
And he beat the shit out of Tom Holland.
He also did that to Toby. Yeah.
And Toby.
Those
are the best. The hell out of both of them. And I'm like, oh my Lord.
That bit where he just gets the crap kicked out of him in that first Spider-Man movie with Toby.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
That made the movie for me.
Oh yeah.
Back then. I was like, this is a lot of fun. And then I was like, that's the only part of the movie where you go, maybe I don't want to be Spider-Man.
That looks painful.
And I hate that, like, until like this movie, we had never got anything as visceral as that moment. I also want to talk about that bit. It's very reminiscent of The Dark Knight with the Joker when he's laughing when Batman's just punching him. Like, Spider-Man's just doing that to Goblin. He just starts laughing.
And he's not even, his face isn't even moving anymore. Oh my Lord.
That might be the most terrifying thing I've ever seen in a superhero movie. It's just like Tom Holland Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. His villains, on the whole, have been like reasonable people.
Yeah.
Like they're evil some of the time, but like you understand where they're coming from. Like you could have a conversation with him. Like he doesn't like Thanos, but like he understands, he's capable of understanding Thanos' motivation.
Oh yeah.
He's capable of understanding why Mysterio's doing this. And he's like, you're wrong. Don't do this. Yeah. But with Green Goblin, it's just chaotic evil.
This is no first insane person, you know? Yeah. And I really like, because I didn't remember much about the first Spider-Man movie, but that was a big thing about Goblin, is not only could he beat up Spider-Man, he could also psychologically just terrorize Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And he did the same thing in this one. Yep. And it was so beautiful. I loved it so much.
There's only one thing I would have changed about the Goblin in this movie. One thing. All right. So when they're in the apartment, they're making a serum to cure Goblin, right?
Yeah.
And at the end of the Spider-Man Goblin fight in the apartment building, he does get injected with it.
Yeah.
Right. And he just says it didn't work and throws it down. I think that was a missed opportunity. I think he should have gotten injected with it and was like, hey, I made this.
Yeah.
What you did is you just got rid of Norman.
Yeah.
And then he turns green. I want green skin, Green Goblin, dang it.
No. I think that I was with you. And then we just went two different ways.
No, because I want him to look like the comic version. Just like, it doesn't have to be like Hulk green, but just like a green tint.
See, I wish that when I heard that the new Willem Dafoe is going to be more reminiscent of the comics Goblin, I really wished that he would have like the waves, like the hairstyle that Norman had.
The terrible haircut that him and Harry both have in the comic.
And like he wears a do-rag to bed. Like, I don't know why he has that. But I wish that on what you're saying, I don't think I wanted him to turn green, but if it gave him like a power jump to where in the final act he was like going toe to toe with all three Spider-Men, that would have been really good.
I would have liked that a lot. While we're talking, I'm going to do a quick Photoshop job. Try and show you what I want. Man, what else do you want to talk about?
Oh, there's so much.
There's so much. Man, I had such a fun time with this movie.
It was so good. J. Jonah Jameson was great. Loved him. I do miss the hair though. The hair.
Yeah.
Fuck.
I understand why they didn't give J. Jonah the same haircut. I also think it's weird that they didn't like have him interact with Spider-Man really at all, except like over the phone.
Yeah, that was I mean, for already a over 2.5 hour long movie, it might have been a little extra. And
maybe just a
super
bit
necessary. I if Tom was already working for the Bugle, I could see it. Or if like at the end of the movie. Oh, that's right, the end of the movie. What I wanted at the end of the movie was him to apply at the Daily Bugle, and when he got that apartment, for it to be the landlord from the Sam Raimi one.
I think everybody wanted that, and then it just didn't happen.
Yeah, like I'm just like, please, and they're like, no. He was supposed to, because they had the 5 villains, he was supposed to be number 6 for the Sinister Six.
It is also baffling to me that they only got the 5 villains when like one more would have been real Sinister.
One more would have done it. And they literally could have just done the Rhino. No, they couldn't. But like, they could have done something, I guess.
They could have done the Venom.
They could have done the Venom. Yeah, you're right.
3. Topher Grace Venom.
But I think that would cut into the actual Venom like series too much though to do that.
You think so?
Yeah, because like they already did. Well, they did bring over Venom. Is the thing.
All right, hold on. So this was a real quick mock-up. Of Willem Dafoe Green Goblin with green skin. I did this in the time that we just talked. Does that not look?
I hate it.
I want it, man. No. I want it.
It's so campy, my lord. I know that they probably would have done it better than you, but I'm looking at this. I'm also seeing that you're on Windows 11. I hate you, but I don't hate that, but also like I'm glad that they just kept them not green.
Well, keep in mind what I was saying before with when you cure the characters, they look different. I think it would have made more sense for like there to be a visual difference between Norman and Goblin at the end of the movie.
That's a fair point.
And you know, I'm willing to discuss the shade of green.
Yeah.
I could go lighter. It could be fainter. I went pretty heavy on the green, but I think that this could have been really cool.
It would have been cool. I'm not gonna pretend it wouldn't. But yeah, they did bring Venom over technically.
Ugh. What are we doing?
I'm just saying. What the heck? Yeah. Whoa!
What?
I saw all of that.
It's gonna be the thumbnail for the episode, the Patreon
thing. It's just that version of Venom they brought over was the new Venom. So he was like, not in New York.
I think it was just
yeah.
It's so funny to me that you get the movie from his perspective is he was in a hotel. Mm-hmm. He suddenly goes to a different universe. He goes to a bar. Here's what the universe is like. And then as soon as he decides to do anything, he gets sent back home.
Yeah, he goes away.
I want to see that movie. Like
that
the full version of that movie. Yeah. Where he's just where it's just Eddie and Venom on vacation.
Yep. That'd be really good. I like that. I actually haven't seen Venom 2 yet.
It's not great.
I mean, the first one was passable, so
I think the first one was less than passable. I think the second one's better than the first one, but
I thought the first one was passable. I had a decent time watching it. I didn't hate it. Would I watch it again? Probably not, unless I wanted to, which I probably won't want to. But.
See, I actively hated the first one. I thought it was really, really bad.
I'm not saying it couldn't be better, but I thought it was passable because I already had a feeling it was going to be bad because of how they already butchered the Amazing Spider-Man. Which
fair point.
People are seeing it in a different light now that they brought back Andrew.
Andrew is so good. His Spider-Man is so good.
Oh yeah, Andrew's a good actor. People don't think of him when they think of good actors, but Andrew Garfield's a good actor, and he did Spider-Man real well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm really surprised at I've thought up to this point Tom Holland was probably my favorite Spider-Man, and Andrew is the one that's now throwing me.
Oh yeah,
because Andrew feels the most he's basically what Spider-Man is in the comics right now. I think Tom is doing a great version of what Spider-Man would realistically be right now in that universe. I think it's great.
Yeah.
I think he really brought it in this movie. I love seeing that rage and that sadness in him. I love that. By the way, I didn't get to say this earlier, even though I think the spell is dumb that he asks Strange to make at the end of the movie. It's so stupid. Yeah. I'm okay with it because I like where it goes. I love the storytelling possibilities because at the end, it's you look at him swinging around, you're just like, now that's Spider-Man. Oh, yeah. That is exactly what I wanted Spider-Man to be.
I definitely liked the suit he made at the end of it. Because it's very reminiscent of the OG suit.
It feels a little too CGI and a little too weightless.
It was very bright.
It was very bright.
The blue was very bright again, and the red was not as bright, but also kind of bright.
When he's sliding in the snow, it doesn't feel like there's any weight to that character. It feels like he's literally just gliding. But he doesn't it doesn't feel like he makes an imprint in the snow. Yeah. He just kind of hits it and just kind of glides along like it's ice.
I feel like Andrew was definitely a lot I think he was fine in his movies. But I think definitely the difference in production and directing for this one definitely let Andrew shine more than in The Amazing Spider-Man.
100%.
Yeah. And I think that's giving people rose-tinted glasses about Andrew right now. Because while he is good, he had that backbone of directing, the Amazing Spider-Man movies don't really hold up still.
They're bad. They're bad movies.
They're not good.
And Andrew's good.
Yeah, Andrew's bad. Great. People want another Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movie. I'm like, yes, but directed by MCU producers and directors, not Sony, because it wasn't good.
I don't want Mark Webb. I'm sorry. I understand there was studio interference.
Yeah.
I want to feel something different. There's one last thing I want to talk about, and it's going to be it for the Patreon thing.
Yep.
Thank you for all enduring this with us.
Yes.
All right. So up till now, there's been a couple of debates on the MCU watch order, which is roughly chronological release versus theatrical release date. Mm-hmm. I think if you're watching the MCU for the first time, you will want to go with the release date version, versus if you're well versed in the MCU, I think watching it in chronological order can be fun. Mm-hmm. But now that there's a multiverse of movies you have to watch, you
had to start at 2001 now.
Do you? I don't know, man. I'm
got to start at Spider-Man 1 now.
I'm really conflicted with it because Iron Man 1 and Endgame are like the perfect bookends. Mm-hmm. So it's got me thinking maybe now the way you should do it is like you watch a Spider-Man franchise in between phases. So like after Avengers, then you watch the Tobey Maguire trilogy. And then after that, you jump back into the MCU proper with Iron Man 3. And then after Ant-Man, you go and watch Amazing Spider-Man. And then after that, you come back and you start off with Civil War and you get introduced to the new Spider-Man. And you're just like, okay, here we go. And that's the closest I can get right now, while making sure that whole thing maintains like a whole feeling of like, what's the word I'm looking for? To make the whole thing feel complete. Yeah. And it's just going to get messier.
Oh, we hold these truths to be self-evident. There's no way it can get any cleaner than it already is. The MCU on its own, while they get as close to chronological as they can, they still insert movies, time-wise, roughly.
All I mean by what I just said then is there's a multiverse of madness coming.
Yes.
And there's been a rumor for a while that they are going to incorporate a movie, like a non-superhero movie, into that universe, like one of the Fox films. And I'm really curious to see which it is. So, for instance, wouldn't it be crazy if you get some like, I don't know, a de-aged Bruce Willis and you see Doctor Strange just end up in Die Hard? Do you then have to incorporate the Die Hard movies into your MCU rewatch? This is a hypothetical. Or if it's Home Alone, do you then see Doctor Strange interact with the Home Alone kid? Do you have do you have a CGI young Macaulay Culkin?
I think it'd be a lot funnier if they just had Macaulay Culkin as he is now, but pretending to be a child.
No, they do it like how they did the kid scenes in George Lopez, where they just CGI a giant present-day Macaulay Culkin head onto a young child's body. That'd be very funny. I'd hate it. Good. Also, keep in mind, it's almost a 100% guarantee that in the Multiverse of Madness, we're going to get, the X-Men series.
Yeah, in some way.
Inserted into this.
Yeah.
That's going to make it even worse because the X-Men timeline doesn't make any sense.
It can't fit in with MCU, at all.
It doesn't make any sense. Something I was hoping, jumping back a bit, I was hoping back during WandaVision, they would find a way to incorporate those movies into WandaVision. What I was hoping, because WandaVision started doing the decade hopping thing that the X-Men movies did for no particular reason. I was hoping that she was going to expand her hex and then it was going to kind of rewrite history, rewrite the world as it did in the hex. She would create mutants and then it would then canonize why the X-Men movies jumped 10 years for no apparent reason. It gave you an in-universe explanation as to why. And then maybe after she brought the hex down, a version of those character backstories kind of remained. Maybe they look different, maybe not. Who's to say? And then it just didn't.
Yeah.
But you know what? Still a pretty good show. I liked it.
I'm expecting at the very... My expectation for bringing the mutants somehow in Multiverse of Madness, since Wanda is going to be in it, I would say either having Michael Fassbender or D.H. Ian McKellen come in and call Wanda his daughter or something like that. and that'd be like the tease. That'd be like at the very least the tease that I expect from having mutants in the movie, at least.
I don't know. But you know what? I'm excited.
I am too.
Tomahawk and Stu Picture Podcast.